aware that the rules of ultimate. So WFDF is the governing body, the parent governing body. It stands for World Flying Disc Federation. They had published the rules of ultimate, which we were following for the last so many years. How many people are aware that those rules have been updated in December? How many are unaware that they were updated? Okay. So this session will aim at going through a few of the key updates. Okay. After that, I've prepared a document with all the changes. I'm going to publish it on the group. I want everybody to go through. There are also 2 videos on YouTube where Ruben Berg, who's the chairman of who's on the board rather for the rules, he's the head. He goes through all the changes step by step. Please everybody watch that video. Alright? So the first rule that we're going to talk about is has to do with receiving fouls. Aaron, what's a receiving foul?
When somebody gets a block.
A block on you?
Yeah, that's it.
Anybody else receiving foul? Nobody? Doc?
So it's a foul committed by a receiver. So either it can be offensive receiver or a defensive receiver. So basically the person who is not having the disc, the person who is making a play on the disc.
Yeah.
Either from the defense or offense side.
Yeah. So a receiving foul is called when there is contact between players making a play on the disc. Alright? It includes before, during and immediately after the play. Alright? Now, how this rule is changed. Okay, the new part of this rule is contact with an opponent's arms or hands after the disc is either caught or out of reach of play is no longer a foul unless it is deemed as dangerous. This type of contact also, of course, needs to be avoided whenever possible. So what that means is, so if Rocket is say about to catch the disc, all right, and he catches it and there's a small brush or run down D, good example.
Run down D, you D it and then just touch by mistake this thing.
So if Rocket's about to catch the disc, if I make a play, I get the disc and then bump into his arms. Okay, previously Rocket could say, you initiated contact with me, my arms are outstretched. Now, unless it's really reckless where I'm going foot first or something, if I get the D and bump into his arms, it's not a foul. Alright, so that's the way to interpret it. But again, this cannot be used to initiate as an excuse to initiate contact. We are still trying to avoid contact whenever possible, but this is excluding it. So this exception to the receiving foul creates a tolerance to the small and safe contacts that do not affect play. Again, it comes down to not affecting play. I made a play on the disc, I got there before, but I happened to bump into his arms after that. It didn't affect play, but so that's no longer a foul. Alright? The second rule that we're going to look at is an offsetting foul. Okay, what's an offsetting foul?
Both offense and defense are actually the same space. Some foul happens, they call offsetting.
So an offsetting foul happens when 2 opposing players rightfully call a foul on the same play. Alright, the result of the call is to send the disc back to the thrower. So if 2 people are going for the disc, say it's a 50-50 disc, they both have right of way, they both go up and bump into each other. Offense says, you foul me, defense says, no, you. It's considered to be an offsetting foul. There's no discussion of no, nothing. It's an offsetting foul, disc goes back. The change is the disc does not always go back to the thrower anymore. Alright? So if this happens after the disc is caught, alright, after the disc is caught, say contact happens and one person falls to the ground. Say the offense makes a play on the disc, they grab the disc, the defense clatters into them and falls on the ground. You've got to wait until the defense has time to recover and stand up before you can continue playing. You cannot just immediately start play after that. Similarly for the in the other way around. Say if the defense gets the disc and then the offense clatters into them in a non-threatening way, non-dangerous way, and the offense happens to trip and fall, the defense has to wait until the offense gets up again to continue play. Okay, you can make a call, but this only comes into play after the disc has been caught. You cannot use this as an excuse before a play on the disc is made. So after the play on the disc is made, there's contact, which is again non-dangerous, non-threatening. Contact happens where both players are vying for the same space. You've got to wait. The game doesn't stop, okay, but you've got to wait. You should wait until the person gets up, is in a proper way to mark again, and then yeah.
So what if the offense catches the disc and the defense has fallen out and the offense continues to play but the defense identifies that? What's the call they play?
Then it comes back.
What's the call you?
Foul.
Just foul.
You call foul, it's an offsetting foul, and then you. So when this happens, you ideally call offsetting foul. Say if you're on the floor, the offense should wait, even if a call isn't made. Okay, it's good spirit to wait for the person to get up again before you continue, because there is contact. If the defense just happens to stumble and fall, of course you can continue. This is only when contact happens. So the new rule is the disc does not always go back to the throw anymore. A common case of offsetting foul is when two players run to the same spot and both initiate contact. If the offsetting foul happens after the disc is either caught or blocked, the disc stays where it is and the players who fell to the ground from the contact get to stand up before resuming play. Alright? This change only applies to contacts where both players are at fault and happening after the catch or block. But do remember that making a play on the disc is never a reason to initiate contact. Alright? Here are some different scenarios. If your opponent catches the disc and you fall, you can call foul to have the time to get up and be ready to defend. Okay? If you are the one catching the disc and falling, you can also make the same call to avoid the defender starting the stall count while you are on the ground. If it's your opponent that falls, you can play normally as long as no foul is called. But if you know that the fall is due to contact between the two of you, it would be good spirit to wait for them to get up even if there is no call. Alright?
Yeah.
Okay, then the third point that we are going to talk about, okay, is offside. Someone new, what is offside? New, someone new.
Still go for it.
Before the pull, if we cross the line, like
Who
pulling,
crosses the line?
defense.
And if offense?
Yeah, both sides.
Ah.
If they cross the line, it's offside. So pulls again, it's a replay.
So offside happens when either offense or defense crosses the line before the pull is released. Okay? It has to be called before the offense touches the disc. Alright? So the new rule, if the offense calls offside, okay, if the offense calls offside, they must let the disc hit the ground, but they can regard the pull as a brick and start with no check required. So if the offense calls offside, you can wait, you have to let the pull land, then run to the brick mark and start as if a break has been called. Is that clear to everyone?
Yeah.
Or you can ask for a replay.
No. There is no replay. There is no replay.
initially, how many offsides? One was allowed, one was a warning, and the second one was brick.
So now that warning is
I
gone.
don't remember what
That
the...
was the first thing. Last time was what?
First was a warning, second was a brick.
Second was a brick.
half.
Ah,
Now,
Now the warning
irrespective
is
of
gone.
how many, this is what happens. Alright? So if the defense calls offside, okay, if the
pulling
defense
team.
calls offside, the disc is checked in by the defense after both offense and defense have set up.
Just to catch a ball.
Yeah.
So defense gets to catch.
Clear?
And
this
there is
happens as if
no
a normal timeout was called. The disc is checked in where it would have been if no offside was called.
there's no contest in the offside.
I
No,
mean,
I'm asking.
I've not.
Is it?
was called by the observer.
No, but
Can't contest.
our games.
I
no,
don't.
observe.
Every call can be contested.
Yeah.
Every
that's why
call
I'm
can
asking.
be contested.
That's
but
why last
I've-
time there used to be warning. Now it's quite strict, right? So if you say offside,
No, but
and
in this case, then you need
other
to
people
inform your
don't
teammates
agree.
that one of what I mean.
So
is one of your-
ideally, when you're calling, have someone from the other team also
exactly.
with
You
you.
need to inform
If you've
him
got a
that other people
designated
will be
caller
watching
who's
over.
calling offside,
Correct.
have someone from the other team also with
so
you.
if
on
you
the same
feel
team.
the
I'm
other
going
people
to
are doing
observe.
it regularly,
Let's-
then tell them and
There is no call that cannot be contested. So this call also can be contested, but then both of them are just talking
yeah.
in there
No
where it
other
goes
rule.
back. In this, ideally, I think it would just go back. You pull again because it's a contested decision. But the spirited way to do it would be if you've got someone designated from your team, get someone from the opposite team and just say, have a look at this. All right. The is that rule clear to everyone?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, the next that we've got to talk about is has to do with straddle and wrapping. Someone new. What is straddle and wrapping? Yeah.
Straddle is if your stand, if this is the person with the disc and I'm entering into the space between his feet.
Louder.
The space between his feet.
Huh?
If I'm here, this is straddle.
What is the rule? How will you describe that? Explain it to someone else who's blind.
I'm not sure actually.
So, straddle is a straight.
Away.
Huh?
Keeping your feet between the pivots, this is where the thrower has pivots, right? If your feet are blocking that path, where the thrower can pivot.
So, come in. So, you've got the disc. You've got the disc. That's your pivot foot.
Yes.
Okay? Now I'm blocking the path where you can.
No, if you're keeping it somewhere in between where I can't move my pivot feet.
Which is it?
This one.
Huh.
Sorry, this one is my pivot feet.
Huh.
So,
Anyways, you can't move your pivot foot.
the other feet.
You're non-pivot foot.
Yes. So if you are in between the place where I cannot move my non-pivot feet, that is straddle.
What does that mean? so,
If
suppose I'm here.
split.
Suppose I'm here. Is that straddle?
No. So
But you
if
can't move through this.
here I can move, right? I can pivot.
So where should I stand for it to be
Here,
straddle?
very close, like your feet should be somewhere
Here?
between my feet.
Here, is this straddle?
Yeah, that is straddle.
Yeah.
Everyone has
So a straddle is a line between the marker's feet.
2 feet.
Okay, should not come, should not overlap the thrower's pivot foot. So if you're standing here, okay, I cannot stand this way. Yes, Lango? I cannot stand this way. That was the old rule. Okay, the new rule is there has to be one disc space now. So if she's standing with the disc here, that's a pivot foot. I cannot stand here. I've got to stand like one disc away. A line between my feet has to be one disc away. There are a lot of straddle happening today in the game. Just keep that in mind as a when you've got the disc in your hand. Call. Alright? Next, what is wrapping?
Wrapping is when you're the thrower and I'm Rapping is
Say line joining it. Describe.
the line between your
Not
My
body
two pivot feet.
It's like Viva. It's like Viva.
the line between your body and your feet.
So okay, the line between the marker's two hands cannot encompass the pivot foot. So again, stand.
Cannot what?
Cannot overlap. So
Not this.
See, lunge out. This, even if I'm this far, this is wrapping. Because a straight line is going over your pivot foot.
Okay.
You get it? That is wrapping. The same rule applies where now you've got to be one disc diameter with you. This is fine. This is wrapping again, even if I'm at this distance. So just keep that in mind. You cannot, you've got to be away when you're marking this mark.
It's hard to
Alright, so the new rule is the forbidden straddle area for straddle and wrapping now includes the thrower's disc space. The marker's feet cannot form a line that crosses one disc diameter around the thrower's pivot. Okay? And the marker's hands cannot form a line that crosses within one disc diameter of the thrower's torso. Sorry, of the thrower's torso,
yeah.
not pivot foot. Wrapping has to do torso and not pivot foot. Good?
And then what happens if a straddle happens or a wrap happens? What's the stop?
So you call straddle or wrap. The game doesn't stop. There is no stoppage. Whatever was the last valid stall count, you start with one below that. So if I was at 5 when wrapping is called, you start at 4 immediately.
And if it's a repeated call?
Repeated.
-1 again. That's it. You just go -1. There is no, it never goes to 0. Put your hand up.
No, no.
Yes. Alright. The fifth rule change that we're going to discuss has to do with double team. Nikki, what is double team?
Defenders are within the distance.
Okay. And who can call double team?
Anyone can call it. Like not to sideline, but
That's the new rule.
She's telling the new rule, Daddy. She's updated.
So the old rule was only the thrower could call double team. The person with the disc can call double team. Now it is anybody on the offense playing 7 can call double team. It doesn't only have to be the thrower. Cool. So keep that in mind when y'all are playing next time offense. Okay.
They have to start their session.
All right.
We have 3 minutes more. We'll have to do it somewhere else.
Okay, just pause it, we'll go there. There is, okay, we've gone through 5 changes. There's one 6th change that I also want to go through. It has to do with travel. Alright, so what is travel? Sahana.
So when you have a disc and in the motion of your throw, when you move your pivot foot, it's called travel.
Okay, suppose you are running and doing a give go. What constitutes travel then?
Sorry.
When you are running and doing give goes, what constitutes travel?
When you jump, I mean, the motion of your run, when you when you establish pivot, but then take a step further and then throw, I think that's travel.
Okay, so the rule, the change in rule has to do specifically with give and go. Okay, so in the old rules, you had to make a conscious effort to slow down after catching the disc before you could make a pass, and also any one part of your body had to be making contact with the ground. So if I'm running and I catch it, I cannot jump and make a throw. Also, if I'm running full speed, I had to slow down, give, go, slow down, give, go. Alright? Now that rule no longer applies. So I can do a give and go on the full run. Alright? Before the third point of contact. So I cannot take, when I'm doing a give go specifically, I cannot take more than 2 steps. I have to release the disc before the third part of contact to the ground, but I don't have to be slowing down. Also, during that motion, I could have been in the air when I released the disc. It is still not a travel. Clear? I don't have to be on the ground. This does not mean that, say you get a disc, you can continue to sprint. Alright? You have to, if you're slowing down and making a pass, alright, you have to make your best effort to slow down and then stop and make a pass. This is only has to do with when you're in the motion of give and goes. Clear to everyone? Alright, then there are a couple of other small points that I see as common errors that a lot of people make. How do you start a stall count, Sanjay?
You go within the 3 meters of the thrower and you can start this.
How?
Installing on.
So the stall count has to start with the word stalling. You cannot go up and say stall 1, 2, 3, or neither can you say 1, 2. It has to start with the word stalling. A lot of people either say stall or just directly 1, 2, 3. No, stalling 1, 2, 3. All right.
What happens if you don't start with stalling and you say you start with stall, but then you're like stall 3, you go back to stall 1, stalling 1?
I didn't get called.
The
What's the
offense
call then?
If the offense calls it,
Violation.
yeah, so do you go back to stall, you start from 1?
So ideally, you've got to call it as quickly as possible. You shouldn't, as suppose I've got the disc, shouldn't wait until 4 or 5 to start. If the person doesn't say stalling 1 or stall 1 to say violation, you need to say stalling. It doesn't make a difference, okay, but you have to have 1 second before 0 and 1. So that for that second you say stalling 1. Alright. Last, we've got the pick call. Goalie, when a pick happens, okay, and say the offense is running, you call pick. The offense contests it.
Offense contest.
What happens?
The defense is called a pick and offense contested. So
Who goes there?
the defense stays where the defense is. Right? You can't catch up. The defense can't catch up with the it is contested. It also depends on whether it is accepted or not accepted.
I said it's contested.
Contested by the offense, called by the defense.
Pick only defense can call.
Yeah.
Defense cannot contest a pick.
He is not accepted. He is contested means he is not.
Okay. Not accepted. So
There are two options.
yeah.
Defense says where he is, offense says where he is. Defense catches up to offense. Offense comes back to defense. Which of these
Defense
cases?
stays where the defense is, offense stays where the offense is.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Like they have to go back. This goes back.
Who is they have to go back? I gave you 3 options. Tell me which one.
Like defense comes back where he was. No, sorry, offense comes back where he was, and this goes back to the throw from where he threw before the big call.
Anyone else? Maybe. So in a contested pick, the offense goes back to where he was, where they were when the pick was called. All right. Say the same scenario happens. Pick is called and the offense accepts it. Okay. What 3 happen? Defense says where defense is, offense says where offense is. Defense catches up to offense. Offense comes back to defense. Ritu, Shareen, or Ritu. When a pick happens and it's an accepted pick, what happens then?
So the offense goes back, let me explain this now. So offense goes back whoever to the disc, the disc goes back to the offense, and the defense remains where it is.
Nivi?
Yeah. So the offense, if they have already cut and there is a progression, so the offense comes back to the start wherever they were, and the defense stays where they are. So they just catch it. The offense catches up towards the defense.
Aishwarya? Okay. So when it's an accepted pick, okay, offense stays where they are, defense catches up. This commonly happens here, even during the game that we played against the Chennai team. You, on that,
Foul call.
yeah, forget that foul call. There's a, I don't remember. There's
That's
a,
what the foul call
Yeah.
when I ran into it to stop the first pass. and-
Okay, sorry, wrong example. But if it's an accepted pick, there is no coming back or anything. The defense gets to catch up as much ground that they have lost when the pick occurred. Is that clear?
Just the thought for people, don't look at it as in, like trying to remember exactly what happened. If it is an accepted pick, that means the offense is accepting that they made a mistake, right? If they're accepting, it means
They are
defense
penalized.
will go and now occupy that open position which the offense has an advantage.
Yeah.
Don't give that advantage back to offense because he has accepted his made a mistake.
Basically, for contested pick, so offense can choose either go to the defense.
There's no choosing. No
Players
choosing.
go back.
Yeah. No choosing.
That's a new thing, is it?
No, it's always been.
Always. There is no choosing. Comes back. Clear?
Yeah.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you, Pegs.
Great.